Okay, and the investment's just 10K.
I just need to figure out where I come up with that money, and I'd obviously have to let my wife know.
So when it comes to spouse, we want to look at obviously how to handle it. We'll cover that in a second, but we also want to look at essentially how to prevent it. Okay. So you know the point in the script where it's you've gone through goals first, right? And then we're going to the current situation, essentially, right? So that's where we're gonna pick up. And I'll show you kind of how I would tease out any spousal stuff, at least in the discovery, and then how we can bring that up back at the end. Okay. We'll just start it like this. I'll just ask you a question. So what do you do for work right now?
I'm in roofing sales.
Roofing. Do you like it?
I mean, it's all right, man. It's kind of fluctuates. It's seasonal. It's up and down, kind of dependent on the weather. It's not terrible. I've been doing it for about 5 years now, so it's not like the worst thing in the world, but it could always be better.
You don't seem super thrilled about it, right? So what would you, I guess, when you think about the type of sales that you'd really like to do or the type of career that you'd really like to do, how does that differ from what you're doing now? You mentioned some seasonality stuff. You
Yeah,
feel like on it.
yeah, man. I don't really get behind roofs. I don't really care what it is that I sell. I just need to get behind it. I feel like I need to love it. I don't really feel like I love it. So it's more about like I guess it's like a happiness thing for me. Like I just really don't.
Yeah. Why not though? Why specifically?
Um, well, a lot of it has to do with my culture. I just don't really like the people I work with. And also the people that I talk to are kind of dicks. Like excuse my language, but like when I go into houses, like they're not really the nicest. They're not really the friendliest people in the world. And so, yeah, it just kind of sucks. But
Give me can like that's interesting. So give me like an example. I'm just curious.
of the, like when you at someone's house.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we get the appointment. It's kind of funny. Like we get the appointment. Like they like it's like actually like an inbound appointment where we go out to the door. So I'm not like cold knocking doors, but when I get to the house, they like don't know who I am. They don't know why I'm there. And even when I can convince them to get into a conversation, even if they do need the help, like roofs are 150 grand or more. I mean, yeah, there's some that are 50 grand put, but like, these people can't necessarily afford the financing that I have either. So I feel like I'm just pulling teeth at every single door. I had a woman who like I literally knocked on their door and they knew that I was coming at the time. And I get to the doorbell, I ring the doorbell, and she's like, "Who are you?" Like just starts screaming at me, like, "Who are you? No soliciting. You see the sign out there?" Like, I don't it just sucks. Like I don't want to deal with that anymore.
That's tough. So when you think about, okay, so I think the big thing that is a big challenge with that position, from what you're saying, is like you're knocking on the door and you're basically interrupting their day, and it's these people aren't necessarily wanting to talk to you. They haven't had any pre-framing, they haven't had any education. So like you're doing the sales, song and dance, which I mean is good. You're building a lot of skills to be able to try to get them interested in what you have to offer. So I'm curious, like based on what you know about your sales skills right now, if you were to find a position that had leads that were set onto your calendar remotely, that were pre-framed, pre-qualified, and pre-sold on what you had to offer before you're even speaking with them, how do you feel like that would impact your success? Obviously, it would be better, but like when I say that for you, like kind of what comes up for you?
Oh my God, it'd be a dream. I mean, I've never had a situation in sales. I mean, I've done a few different industries, solar, the whole roofing thing. It's kind of tied together. I've done insurance for a little bit. But like if I had someone coming to me pre-vetted, pre-educated, I feel like I close at 80%. I mean, I close at like 30 to 40% now on like these cold opportunities, but I mean, I don't really know how the industry works. I'd have to obviously learn it, but um, I just feel like it'd be a lot better. Like I would sleep better at night, to be honest with you.
For sure. Okay, we'll circle back to that in a second. So how long you been doing the roofing for?
5 years, about.
Got it. And just so I can get clear on our goals, right? Because we mentioned kind of your overall income target, but what would you just have to make just to replace the amount of income that you're making full time?
Probably around 130 ish, 130, 140.
Got it. Okay, so you're making 130, 140, and you've been doing this for 5 years. And I mean, I get it. Like the leads aren't, the way you want it to be. You're kind of looking for a better sales vehicle, right? But I mean, things are going like fairly well. I mean, you're making six figures, so you're not like
Yeah.
scrapping for scraps or whatever you want to call it. So
Yeah.
I guess, um, you know, after doing this for 5 years, what sort of shifted for you that's having you consider other positions now though? I guess like what kind of shifted or what happened?
It's just not worth my time. Like, I mean, I'm working 60 to 70 hours, sometimes even more per week. And I just feel like I'm being severely undercompensated. Like, you know, in those times in life where you just have yourself like a good look in the mirror and you're like, I'm worth more. I can do more. They're like, I can make more money. And then when I saw that quote, the whole Warren Buffett thing, it's just the wrong vehicle. I know people that are making, consistently 170, 200, 250, even 300, like more. Like I know people who are doing that in other industries that I'm really not too interested in. But I mean, I just saw that Warren Buffett quote and I was like, I know I need to make a change. That was a few years ago.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're seeing people making more and they don't seem more skilled than you. They just have a better opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. I can talk to people. They say that I have the gift of gab, whatever that means. But like you said, I mean, I did the song and dance thing for a while now,
Sure.
and I've developed some skills. But at the end of the day, I just feel like I'm being undercompensated. Well, it's
And
treated like shit for it too. Excuse me.
and you said you're married, right?
Yeah.
What does your wife think about this? Does she agree that you're not making what you're worth, essentially? Like, what does she think about it?
I mean, she's not really too involved with my emotions in that way. I kind of, I not to be too personal, but like I don't really share a lot of this stuff with her because I just don't feel like she'll get it. Um, I mean, you probably know how it is as a guy. Are you married?
I'm gay.
Yeah. I mean, like if you were having troubles at work or struggles at work, I mean, I don't know how you would work, but in my family, like I just kind of keep it under my skin. Like I don't really tell her much about it, but I'm sure that she would love if I was happier. I'm sure it bleeds into the house in some way.
Yeah, so it seems like you don't really communicating it to her, but I'm sure it seems like if she heard you say exactly what you were telling me, she probably wouldn't want you to stay in a position that sucks.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, yeah. So you think she'd be supportive of you finding a new career?
Yeah, totally. If she knew everything that I was feeling, then yeah, I mean, I don't know why she wouldn't want me to make more money and, you know, do it with more integrity.
Yeah. And does she know you're on this call?
I haven't really told her about her yet. It's just more of like exploratory thing for me because I don't really know, well, what this whole thing is about. So I feel like I gotta get some information on it first, and then if it made sense, I'd probably go talk to her about it, or at least fill her in on my decision because like we do things together, things like that. So
Okay, cool. Okay, so we can pause there, right? So that's basically, you know, based on what you gave me, um, as much as I would go into, right? But I did have to demonstrate that because obviously, and hopefully you're already doing this, but do you see how it's easiest to really temp check the spouse when you actually get to like the real pain and like the why do they want to do this now though type of stuff. And so it's easy to align with that. Now, I will say and maybe your prospects are like this. Uh, most times I would say, I mean, it would certainly happen in my life. Um, like a lot of times the wife is the first one to speak into something about like when it comes to like, hey, I'm not getting paid what I'm worth, right? I feel like this job's treating me like shit. You're knocking a bunch of doors, working 12-hour days, you're not at home, right? Like usually the wife is gonna be like, yeah, when I asked you what does she think about this, a lot of times the response I would imagine is going to be she's been saying this for years. And that's kind of what I was going for there, which is very key for you to be able to write down and be able to use later to encourage them that dude, this she's gonna be supportive of this. Right. Like this is very key. Now, the other thing that's very interesting about how you role played it versus what you said the problem was when you brought this up is you were mentioning like they don't have the funds. I mean, if this guy's making 130K a year, he probably does have the funds.
but this is the thing, dude. They make 130K a year, but they don't know how to keep it. Like what I've realized is that even their income with what they've made in the past, Isaiah, maybe you can share some light on this as well with your calls. But I've had guys that make 300K a year their whole life go down to zero because of a divorce or something. Like the salespeople that I'm getting in front of, they know how to make money, dude. But it's not about making money more than it is about keeping it with them. That's why they're in the position that they're in.
That's interesting. The other thing too that I didn't bring up that is super important. I don't know why I didn't say this. I just forgot. I didn't say it because I heard at 1:30 and I assumed finances weren't an issue. But um, what you want to do when you get into that section is you want to ask this question. Is your wife in sales too? Now, the dude's wife's probably not in sales. But if you ask, what's your wife do? It's kind of like, why do you care what my wife does? But if you ask, is your wife, it seems, you see how that seems like in it, like it is, you're just talking.
No, it's rambling. Totally.
Oh no, she's in this. And then like, you're not going to ask how much does she make, right? But like, you're going to, if she's in it, if she's
Sometimes I do
attorney,
sometimes. Yeah.
well, you can, but like, if she's an attorney versus if she's a stay-at-home mom or versus she's a teacher, I mean, that tells you a lot, right? Because she's probably not, the only time you're going to get something very ambiguous is if it's like I don't know, they give you something you'd never heard of, or oh, she has like a really small business, and you're kind of like, okay, I don't really know what that is, but that way you can kind of temp check the finances of the family. Because if the guy, let's say, lives in California and he's making 130 and she's a stay-at-home mom, that is actually going to be a tougher lead than if the dude's in Missouri. If he's in Missouri making 130 and she's a stay-at-home, like he should have the money to do it. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. So that's what we want to get at least in the front end. There's no way. One thing with spouse and partner, I know when I talk a lot about preventing objections, it's like, you know, you want to figure out if you can prevent this one. You can't, really what
Which one? Which one were you talking about there?
spouse and partner. Like you can't really, like you can prevent a lot of, I need to think about it, or I don't know if I want to do that. You can prevent a lot of that stuff. But when it comes to like logistics, which is like we have a rule type of thing, or finances, etc., those ones you can't prevent. You got to let them happen. But what your focus is really up until that point is getting them as sold as possible. So they're like doing backflips head over heels that I really fucking want to do this. And then it's just X standing in the way and we can get on the same side of the table and help them navigate the three logistics, which is there's really four, which is timing, spouse, partner, whatever, just anybody else they got to talk to. Finances, like actual finances, not like I don't think it's worth it, but like, dude, I really want to do it. I just need to find the money. And then the fourth one is, and you guys won't have this as much, but SDA has it a lot, is I actually do really want to do this. I just have one other company I want to speak with. Like that is another logistic that's kind of like, you know, it can be
I ran into that.
it can be a real thing, right?
But
So, but really outside of those things, you almost want to make it. And when you get really good, like this is how I was when I was at my peak, is I would get almost, dude, like every call to where they'd really want to do it. It was just one of those four things. That's where you want to be with objections, because then it's not really objections. It's just, it's like navigation. It's like negotiation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's really where you really want to be. So anyways,
Yeah.
then let's go to the end. So I'll just drop the investment and then you can kind of role play with me. Try to be the same person. And I'll just let you do whatever you want to do. I won't, just try to bring up whatever comes up for you. Really quick, if you're looking to land a lucrative high-ticket closing roles, so something that's 6 or multiple 6 figures a year, completely remote, and with an offer owner that has good lead flow, good comp structure, as an actual offer that gets their clients results, and the offer owners are cool, but you kind of feel like that you don't have the track record or the experience or even the connections to break into the industry and land an offer that's actually good, one that's worth their salt, I want to invite you to take a free quiz that I essentially created that will assess where you're currently at in high ticket sales, whether you're a complete beginner or you're very advanced or somewhere in between. And then after the quiz, it's going to give you a customized game plan of how to up level your high ticket sales career, whether that's just breaking in or taking your current position and really leveling it up to the next position. So the quiz is completely free. It takes 60 seconds. The game plan video is also completely free. So check that out. Just click the link in the description. And now back to the video. Okay. And the investment's just 10K.
You offering discounts?
No.
That's what I thought. Okay, man. Well, look, like it's a lot for us right now. I'll be honest. Like it's not like I just have 10K right there, sitting around, but we might be able to make it work. I just need to Yeah, I feel like there's a couple things involved. I just need to figure out where I come up with that money, and I'd obviously have to let my wife know because that's not something that I can just do on my own for sure.
Got it. Okay. Let's talk about those two things in just a second. Here's what I really need to know from you, Zach. Based on what we covered and kind of walking through how we be working together, and the fact that, like, worst case, I can almost guarantee that just going through and working with our team, even if you're stuck in roofing, which I know is not the goal, you would pay this investment over many times over. And I think you become the top performer in your team. But best case, you get into a role that is a better opportunity vehicle and you really get that multiple on your income that you're really looking for while giving the freedom. But based on the process that I covered, those things aside, like take the money, take the wife out of the equation for a second. I want to know about you. Do you really want to do this?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think this is definitely something I need to do.
Are you positive?
Well, it's a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. Like it's something that like I've never just dropped 10K just like that. I mean that's another thing I should ask. Is it all front or
Yeah, but that's part of the money conversation. So we'll get to that in a second.
yeah, yeah. I
When
mean
I say are you positive, like, is there anything holding you back?
I know this is the opportunity that I've been asking for. This is the opportunity that I've been looking for, and your team seems great. You're clearly one of the best in the industry. Um, it's it really just boils down to the money and the spouse. But if we had to take those things aside, it's no, I know I need to do this. I'm positive I want to do this.
So those things aside, you're 100% in.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So look, let me help you with both of those things. And I don't know if you can do this now, if we got to create a game plan for you to work towards in the future. I'm not sure. But what I do know is let's kind of like work through these two things together and kind of see where the chips might lie and like what our next steps can be from there. Okay. So first of all, you mentioned coming up with the money, et cetera, so on and so forth. Let's cover that. And then we can kind of see where things end up from there. So when you said like you'd have to figure out the finances or put that together, tell me more like what's going on financially for you right now.
Well, can I just be like honest with you? Like, is that like I'll lay it on the table. I have like $1,200 in my account. Um, I have a credit card. I don't really like using that because I've been trying to pay that down. Um, yeah, we don't really have much savings. What exactly are you looking for, I guess?
Yeah. So I mean you have $1,200 in your account. So checking, savings, everything all together, what's your cash on hand exactly right now?
Less than 5K. I don't know the exact number, but it's less than 5K.
Okay. And so let's just say it's 4K. So, and then what's your net incoming cash in the next 30 days? So obviously you make
Yeah,
what's
I make about
right,
130.
10, right? So you're gonna get 10 coming in after you got to pay your rent and your food and whatever.
Yeah,
It'll be the net
I know,
leftover after that.
I know it seems like, 10 grand a month is, that's everyone's goal, right? Like I've always been there for a while, but my lifestyle matches that. Like, to be honest with you, I haven't really put much money aside or saved much. I, the net incoming is it maybe less than $1,000. Like, we live good. Like we have a nice house. We have actually we have two mortgages, a couple cars, we got a couple kids, like with everything, all things considered, maybe a grand left over every month.
Okay. So your expenses each month you're saying are 9 grand.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any expenses you could cut back on pretty easily that are like a 500 to $1,000
Um,
to make that 1 grand, 2 grand?
yeah, totally. We
I'm
can
not
eat
saying
out.
like sell your car or something, but like for me, like obviously my income level is a little different, but like if I look at stuff that I could kind of like just forego for a month or two, I mean, I can find a couple of $1,000 pretty easily.
Yeah. I mean, eating out, like we get lazy, so we eat out pretty often. So that's an expense we can cut back. Uh, entertainment. We go out, like I'd probably say a couple times per month and spend 500 to $1,000 on a game or, taking the kids out.
Okay, so let me
So I,
pause for a second. Now you mentioned access to credit. You don't like to use credit. There is options in which just if you have the credit available, it qualifies you for like different financing options. So just tell me so I have the reference. What's like the overall limit on the car?
the overall limit, I mean, it's max. I can tell you it's almost max, but it's around 20 grand.
Yeah, but how much okay, so how much is on there versus how much is 20?
Yeah, so there's 20 grand limit, and then last time I checked, it was around 18.5. So it's like 1,500 bucks on that credit card
Okay.
left available, is what you're saying.
Okay. And you really want to do this, right?
Yeah, man, if we can, like, I need to figure it out.
Okay. So I have to pause for a second because you're kind of giving me, one of the rules of a role play is like you got to give me like a closable situation here. So if we got like 4 grand, two and a half, like, what? They can maybe fork out two and a half of that uh tops now. So that maybe is 4 grand and then 1 to 2K in savings. So you're in a situation where we could 5 or 6 pay. The other thing is you could look into financing. But what you have to do here is you have to first figure out the financials. Because, like, I mean, if the dude you got to think about this. If the dude goes to his wife and he's like, yeah, it's 10K, what do you think? She'd be like, well, how are you going to pay for that? He's going to be like, I don't know. I got to talk to this guy again. She's like, you can't do that. So it's done. So you actually have to, in a lot of these, if it's a, now with business partner, which is a, not, you don't have that, you guys don't have that thing, right? But with business partner, a lot of times, sometimes if the finances aren't that big of a deal, or, you just tell them that, hey, we'll come up with payment plans on the next call and you do that open loop so they have a reason to show up to the next call, that can be fine. But like in this situation with like a spouse who's not going to come to the next call, right? Most likely, it's very, very key that you prep this person with like what is going to be the payment plan. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because there's sometimes you hold it and sometimes you don't. Almost always with a spouse, like with this type of financial, you got to use your common sense. It's like you have to give this person the best terms that you could possibly do. Otherwise, there's no chance of him convincing his spouse. Does that make sense? So in this situation, what I think would probably be the best thing is to probably do funding right on the call, right? So that would sound something like, look, so and I'd be like, so now I have all his finances, so we can resume. Let's just imagine the monthly payment is $800. It's pretty close to that. Okay, look, obviously, I don't think you going into 5K negative in your bank account to do the 10K up front is probably the best right move for you. But at the same time, number one, I have no doubt that even just learning some of the skills we can teach you with sales training will make you more money immediately. But then also at the same time, that you're somebody who's very experienced, you can get into this industry, have more time with your family, and make more money than you were ever making before by having a career switch, right? So I don't think the best thing for you is also do nothing. So we do have in-house financing options up to 12 months, which would break down your payment to about $800 a month. And then based on the fact that you have about 5K cash on hand right now, you have about 1K or 2K coming in every single month, you have $1,500 on your credit card, you can 100% make that work, right? So if I was willing, and I know you're going to have to probably approve this by your wife, right? But if I was willing to set that up for you, would you be willing to move forward with that, given she would approve?
Yeah, given she would approve that, then yeah, I mean, I feel like that would be worth it as long as I wasn't having to like take out another loan of 10K or like open up another line of credit, which I probably couldn't do in the first place. But as long as I don't have to do those types of things, if you guys have an in-house option, I could probably swing around 800 bucks a month.
You could swing it, right?
Yeah.
You'd be able to work with us for the year, right? I mean, the first 90 days is pretty intensive, and then after that, it's
Sure.
for just ongoing support. But you would be getting it's a really, really great deal for you. So
Yeah.
okay, so you're in on that then. We'll talk about the logistics of that in just a second. But you're good with that.
I'd be good with that. Yeah.
Okay, great. So what do you think she's gonna think?
It should certainly have to be a conversation. I don't think she's going to come out and be immediately like, yeah, let's do it. But I think when she understands why I'm here, what I'm doing it for, and, I haven't really told her how I felt. And, like I said before in this conversation. So I think if I get my emotions out on the table, she'll be a little bit more empathetic and like, you know, want me to make a change. And, she definitely knows it's impacting, our marriage. You're right. I'm not really home very much. And, you know,
Yeah.
I just need to be honest with her.
Yeah. Do you think she'll be totally against the $800 a month?
No.
Okay. So you think she'll be 100% in?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately it'd have to be my decision anyways. But yeah, I think she can get on board.
Okay, cool. So look, here's what we should do from here is let's put down 800. It'll be just a refundable deposit. That'll be your first payment. And then what we'll do is you go talk to her. In the meantime, I'll set up another call between me and you for the financing. And then that will take care of the other payments that'll come in monthly after that. And if for any reason she throws your clothes out in the yard and she's like, I hate you and I can't believe you did this and that and whatever and however, then dude, we'll just refund it. It's just a deposit. That's fine. But that way, for you, what I think is really important is that you can draw the line in the sand, step across it, and really make a commitment to this. And make a commitment that the last 5 years of doing a job that you don't like, that you're undervalued, isn't going to be like the next 5 years. So if we can do that for you, are you cool with doing that right now?
Yeah, I could make that work.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I would imagine that okay, so we get into role play there. That's kind of like a little anticlimactic one because it's like the greaser of greasers here. We're just like doing everything, there's not, that's a you see how this is like a
It's a logistic thing. Yeah.
legit situation, right? So really the main thing is making sure obviously that they 100% want to do backflips and want to do this. And then you're just kind of trying to find a way to make this work, right? Obviously, hopefully every deal is not like that. I mean, if it was, I mean, at the end of the day, a year is not bad. Because we obviously service them for a year. And so they're getting value all the time. I don't like financing where, they leave the program and they're still making payments because then they're making payments and they're thinking, what value am I getting last month? So I like it to be the term of the program. And so, this guy can definitely do $800 a month. You're gonna get paid in full. $800 is like a deposit like that. It shouldn't really break the bank. It's like, dude, you're a business. I know you're a salesperson, but you're gonna make more money if you look at yourself as a business. This is an investment you're making into your business. And if she hates it and she's like, "What the hell did you do, dude? I'll just refund it." But like, you need to make a commitment to this now. You could probably push on a person like that with such a small commitment and then you would just set up another call to set up the financing. Let me talk about a few principles though that we went through. I kind of tried to write them down as I was going. So number one, when you ask for discounts, I just said no. Like most people, there's nothing more than you need to say than that, right? Now, also, do you see how and this is something that I notice I do a lot more than other reps, right? Is I actually tied down 3 times.
I noticed that.
Really wanted to do it. And you notice how I did it too, was not weird. Like, it was very just normal. It wasn't like and a lot of times when people do all the tie downs, it sounds forced. You see how I did it? Like, I was very conversational about it, but also very direct. And so, establishing that from the very beginning makes navigating all this other stuff easier. Because what I don't want is to bring up the financing and then I gotta it's not the end of the world, but it's like, then I gotta deal with, now you're scared. And now you have a question, right? Which that happens a lot of times when this is why you have to be so strong in this tie down. Because the reason that'll come up is because when you did the tie down, they're like thinking, okay, I'm not gonna be able to do it. I don't have the money, whatever. So I'm gonna tell them it's not. I'm gonna tell them I'm gonna blame it on an outside circumstance. I don't have the money. Here's the circumstance. And then when they realize that you actually navigated that logistic to where not no longer is an excuse, then the real thing comes up. And that will happen from time to time, no matter how good you are. But like when you see how direct I am with how I do it, and how also I've been watching you, right? I even look at little things. Like when I ask the question, where your eyes go. Your eyes went like this. That's That's not really the best sign. But I'm also looking for the cadence of your language. Faster cadence is more certainty. Oh, that's not really like certainty, right? When they start doing that stuff. So I'm really trying to tease all that stuff out that right now and build the consistency, right? And then it also makes it easier to talk about finances, to talk about spouse or whatever, because we've established you really want to do it. And then I'm like, hey, let me just help you do it. So it's that same side of the table's equation. That's so key. So then here's the fundamental principle about objections, right? I categorize it. I mean, some people and sales trainers will be like, there's time, authority, money, this and that, or there's 7 objections, and I think they make it more confusing than it needs to be. I think the easiest way to categorize it is there's uncertainty. That's anything that's keeping them from being less than 100% certain that this is the right thing and now is the right time. So that's basically almost everything outside of financial logistics and partner logistics. And then, you can throw in timing logistics too, I suppose. Like, oh, I want to do this in 2 weeks, right? Because I have an actual excuse, not because I want to think about it. Like, because I'm actually, going off grid in Brazil for 2 weeks or the Amazon or whatever the hell it is.
Real quick question on that, Cole, because I want to hear your input. With a timing thing like that, how do you collect on something like that?
Okay. So let me finish my thread.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yep.
So with those 3 objections, usually what we're going to do in a B2C situation, so it really depends, because if it is not, you got to kind of sense out what is the more pressing one. In this one, it was the money, right? So I have to figure out the money. So in this case, the guy doesn't, in our role play, you ended up doing it now. But I mean, I can't really, like, imagine if I had tried to handle the wife and spouse first without addressing the money. It's much harder when there's not the context that we can do a financing option of 12 payments.
So true.
Does that make sense? Like, how am I going to overcome that when he's going to be like, well, dude, she's going to be like, how are you going to get 10K? Like, how are you going to overcome it? You can't, Now, again, if it's like a business partner and he's like, yeah, it'd be nice to kind of see if we can break it up for cash flow, but I really need to talk to my partner. So, those are situations where I can maybe I can just handle the partner, open the loop we'll cover payment plans in the next call. But if it's a really broke business, I'll almost do the same thing. I'll give them a payment plan I know they can do so that when he goes and talks to the partner's like, what the hell are you talking about? We can't do 10K down right now. We have 10K in the account, So you kind of have to navigate that, and you kind of have to figure out what's the final boss and sort of like go in the order. Does that make sense? So in this case, it was the finances and then the spouse. A lot of times that is the order it's going to go, especially if it's a one call closable opportunity. Sometimes it can be the other way around. But that's more of technically a business situation in most cases.
Okay. No, that makes a ton.
Because with wife, it's almost always the wife cares because of the money. So you can't really address the wife thing until you address the money. So the order is very clear. And also, just a good note is like when I get the objections, so like in a perfect world, when you tie down, you isolate out one thing, right? And it's just the money. Or I want to do it as just the spouse. I can pay in full, it's just the spouse, right? Well, in cases where they throw out a lot of things, they're like, yeah, well, there's like a lot of things holding me back, man. There's, look, I don't know, what you said sounds good, but what sounds good, what actually is reality can sometimes be 2 different things. So like, I got to think about if, this is really what I want to do and blah, 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 blah. And I got to do some research to see if you can do what you say. And a lot of them got, right? And then they're like, then if I want to do it, I'd have to talk to my spouse and then I'd have to find a way to get the money. So you see how I gave you like 4 things? You want to write all those things out on, like, I just use a notepad, but like, doc or whatever you want to do, your notes that you're using. And obviously I wouldn't use a notepad for a full call. So if you're doing handwritten, you have like a note system that you're doing. And then if you use the doc online, I just write it on the doc. And then I get clear. Okay, so the biggest things is this, and this for you, right? And then I'm like, okay, there's 4 objections here. But then I know what order to handle them. Right? You always handle uncertainty first, then usually, probably in your guys' case, the money, so that you can handle how they're going to approach this other person. Because once the money's clear, they might be able to do it now because it's like below a limit. or at least if they still have to go talk to this person, they're going to be equipped to go talk to them. Does that make sense? So that's a very, very key. And then, what else is the other thing I was going to say? So we went through the money. You didn't have any money, right? So that I didn't normally. You've seen me do this. I'm like most of the clients do it up front. In certain cases, we let them break it up. So you'll be having an honest conversation, getting everything on the table, la da 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 da. And I asked permission to kind of get into finances. You just kind of like were like, "Can I be honest?" You just kind of gave it to me, so I always had I didn't have to do that part. But then once I had all that, I was like, "And you really want to do this?" And then I'm like, I don't think the best thing. And then I had to kind of pause because I was like, I don't even know what the financing looks like. So I had to kind of think about that for a second. But, obviously, if I'm selling this day to day, I'm going to know what the financing option is. So then I'm like, okay, probably it's either in your case, 5 or 6 pay or financing. You might as well just probably put them on the financing in this guy's case because like making the 5 payments is probably it's like what is more likely that they're going to be able to like actually execute. I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to do financing for this guy based on the sounds of it, and knowing also that he's got to get it approved by his wife. So I'm like, I'm going to try to like make it the lowest thing for him that is also works for us. And then I can go. Then once I have that down, and then I'm like, okay, would you do like if it was just your decision outside of the wife? Would you do that? So now see how now I got to tie back down to isolate that one, right? I'm not even trying to do a close. It's just like a tie down. It's like a trial close, some people call it, but it's like now I'm like, okay, so we went through the uncertainty, we got that out. Then I moved down to finances. Then I'm like, okay, I got that out of the way. And I'm like, okay, so now outside of the wife thing, would you do this? And you're like, yeah, I would do it. I'm like, are you sure okay? Yes. Okay, great. Now, and then I'm like, what do you think she's going to think about the $800? Oh, I don't think she'll ever. Okay, great. And I want to see the strength of that, right? Now, in this case, the only thing that you would logistically run into is, we just always make these decisions, la da da da. I'd be like, hey, do you guys have a limit? And one error I did make is what I should have done before I gave you the payment plan is just been like, hey, I'm curious, do you guys have an agreement of like a limit for expenditures? Just so I could get you on the record before I told you the monthly payment. Does that make sense? Yeah, because I didn't address. I know that's actually out of order. I just need to
Ran into
I
that.
need to throw in that question because you could lie to me and be like, well, our thing is $500. That's bullshit, by the way. But like, oh, our limit's $500. We got to talk about it. And so, if you would have said that, I would have kind of been like SOL a little bit. But I guarantee he'd have been like, yeah, it's over 1,000 or 1,500. And then in that case, 800 clears that and it's refundable. So I'd be like, dude, you just got to do this. You got to like, there's two types of way this could be. You could be number one where you're running between, depending on your rapport with the person, you could be like, you're running between your tail, you're running with your tail in between your legs, going to her and being like, I think I found this thing and it's $800 a month and I think it's gonna help me get a new position. Or you could go to her and be like, look, I put down a deposit, it's 100% refundable. So if you hate this, I'll just refund it. But here's the deal. I've been doing this for 5 years. I'm undervalued. I'm underpaid. I don't get to spend time with the kids because I'm knocking on doors all day. My body hurts. And so I'm paying this firm who's placed 1,100 reps last year for the top companies in the industry to help me find a new role and train me to be better in my current role. And then when I get this new role that could be higher income potential and give me the remote lifestyle and freedom that I want to, be able to succeed in that role as well. So this is a monthly payment for this. It's a refundable deposit to lock in my spot, but I want to make sure you're going to support me with this. So what do you think? And then I'd be like, so what do you think she's going to say if you say that? She's going to say, that's good. Okay, so let's just do it. So that, with that low of a payment, you can just like edge them in on that deposit. But in most cases, you can do like the 500 and then just subtract that from the financing and then just do financing for the rest, right? And just credit it towards that. So that's how that would look. Now you asked about timing. All right. So with timing, the way to handle that is the way it's really the same is just role play it with me, right? So in this case, just to be clear, we're handling a timing logistics. So the rule is just for the clarity of the teaching, you can't give me any other objection because I just want to be able to like show you
Yeah.
how.
Yeah.
So like in this case, you're going to be like, I 100% want to do this, dude. I just want to start in 2 weeks or whatever you want to say. Right. Okay, great. So let's go through that. The investment's just 10K.
Okay. Yeah, that's not too bad. I can come up with that. Uh, when do we get started?
Now, you ready to go?
I would be, dude. The only thing is, I just have a trip coming up here in the next couple of days. I'm taking a flight here, but actually tonight, and I just wouldn't be able to dedicate any time to this over the next 2, maybe 3 weeks. So, um, I want to do this, but can we just start then?
Wait, walk me through this. So when's your trip?
My trip is as of tonight for the next 2.5 weeks.
Or where are you going?
Thailand.
And what are you doing?
It's just honestly for fun. Like I needed a break, so I needed to take a 2.5 week vacation. I just needed to, yeah.
And who are you going with?
Just my family. When I say family, just my wife and my one kid.
Uh, okay. You gonna be hiking, taking walks, doing stuff.
Yeah, we never been, so we're excited.
This is gonna seem like a random question, but I'll tell you why I'm asking in a second. Are you gonna work out during that trip? You keep working out. You just go
Yeah. No, I train.
drinking my ties and going crazy.
Yeah, no, I train. Yeah, I don't know what the gym situation looks like, but I'll constantly get workouts in. I'll work out 4 or 5 days a week.
Okay. Okay. So in your perfect mind, when would you think is the perfect start date? Like when would you be 100% committed to start?
I would say with the travel time, like 2.5 weeks from today.
So give me a date.
Uh, put it at honestly, just put it at November 1st.
Well, that's 3 weeks.
Is that 3 weeks? Sorry, I don't have the calendar. Well, then whatever. It's like I don't have my calendar in front of me, but end of last week of
Let's say October 27th.
that last week of October. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So you want to 100% start October 27th.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you're telling me, just to be clear, I just want to make sure I'm organized on my end. If we were having the same conversation we're having right now today, but today was October 27th, you're giving me payment, you're 100% moving forward.
Yeah, I'd be back from vacation. I'd be rested. I'd be clear. We'd be rocking and rolling
Okay.
right now.
Can I tell you something crazy?
Sure.
I actually think that the timing is perfect right now. Couple of reasons. Number one is, and I'm going to give you also, I'm gonna change something for you as well that I think you're gonna like. Okay, that's gonna be nice for you in terms of an added bonus, but we'll get to that in a second. But here's why I think the timing is actually perfect now. Number one is you're about to leave for the. When do you leave? Tomorrow?
Tonight.
Tonight? Okay,
Yeah.
you're making a commitment. Like when you go on vacations, you're kind of like it gives you some space to look away, right? You're thinking about your career, you're thinking about your life, you're kind of revisiting your goals a little bit. Even if you're sitting on the Mai Tais, drinking a beach, reading a book, right? And you're like trying to, keep your kid from running into the ocean and doing all the things. You're still kind of like, it's that you kind of get in that observer seat a little bit and you start rethinking things and you get insights that you may have not gotten otherwise, right?
Totally.
Number one, that's something that always happens on vacation. The fact that you can make a commitment now, draw the line in the sand and step across it, and then throughout that 2.5 weeks, start rethinking all of these goals, I think is very powerful. Now, just stay with me for a second because I'm going to give you a few other ideas with this. The next thing is dude, you're going to have your flight's at least 16 hours there and back, right? On top of that, you're going to have your workouts that you're doing each day. You're going to be maybe taking a walk on the beach in the morning or a run and getting some exercise in. I mean, hopefully, dude, it's 2.5 weeks. So you're going to have a lot of time where you can actually knock out the training that you wouldn't have otherwise when you're working full time. So you could probably, I mean, the fact that you have this 16-hour flight, if you drink a couple coffees on that flight, you're going to have an amazing ability to knock out this training with robust notes really quickly that you wouldn't have otherwise when you're working full time in your sales job and you only got nights and mornings, right? So like that is actually a huge bonus because you could almost be done probably with the training by the end of those 2 flights, let alone if you just listen to a little bit when you're working out, you're taking a walk, you're taking a run, whatever. And then that also helps with you reconfiguring your goals and your ideas and all of that stuff as well. All right. So I think you're in the perfect time right now. But here's what I'll do for you. I'll just set your official start date for October 27th and I'll buy you an extra 2.5 weeks into the program because you're not going to be outside of the trainings. You're not going to be really utilizing or draining our resources or anything. So I'm happy to just extend your program time by 2.5 weeks so that you're not like losing out on your investment. Does that make sense? And then that way, you can come back on October 27th. You've already knocked out the training. Boom, you meet with your coach, and you're way ahead of everybody else. And then we can really hit the ground running. So there's no way that you lose in terms of doing that. So if I was willing to shape it up like that, right, for you and extend the program for you, would you be willing to move forward right now? Yeah. I mean, you see how I laid it out like that? And I had to figure out your trip. Does that make sense? And like, you see how I use so specific things with like the 16-hour flight and like, it actually is true. Like, you see how it's like, dude, like you're actually in the perfect position to knock out all of this training, but like on vacation and like rethink your fucking career. I actually made it's like I kind of just reframed it into the exact reason why you should just do it now. And then I also just changed the logistics so you had no excuse.
Yeah. I never got it like that before. I know that's in the training, but like that, even what you did with tying down with money and spouse and all of that, I need to flip that and just drill it over and over again. I don't have a call right now. You may have a hard stop, but um, yeah, this is super helpful.
Well, do you have any questions on the timing thing?
Um, Not really. The only thing I see coming up there is like, dude, I just want to relax. Like, no training, no work, like nothing. Like, I totally get your point, and I see how that could be massively beneficial. But even just like going to the training, I kind of just want to like sleep on the flight. I kind of just want to like do.
Yeah, you go to sleep 16 hours on the flight?
That's true.
Oh, come on, man. Like, you can carve out 4 or 5 hours, or man, even if you carved out 3 hours on 2x speed, like you're gonna get through so much. And I also just think like just watch. You're gonna come back and you're gonna thank me for doing this because you're gonna be like, dude, I'm so pumped. I've thought about all this stuff. I went through the training and I want to get on this type of offer and I've rethought my goals and I've mapped out this. Like, and I'm not saying like you're gonna spend your entire thing working, dude. Like, we're talking about just going through the training, just making the commitment so you can think about this and knocking out on some of the flight. Like, you can do that. You're gonna be bored as hell on that flight, dude. You're gonna be wondering, like, man, when does this thing end? So you see what I'm doing there is I just kind of like had fun. I don't know. Like, I just am like,
Yeah, man.
like,
Oh, come on. You're not gonna.
just like, and that works when you have rapport with people. But I actually do that. Um, I do that a lot. I didn't learn how to, and I know that sounds so weird because it's not that hard to do, but like, it's just like I think the thing is, I started doing that a lot more when I started selling my own offer. Is I just became less rigid. I also didn't need the sale as much. Whereas a sales rep, I really wanted the sale. And so I was just able to relax a little bit more and just have fun. Like, I closed a guy yesterday. I didn't even realize it was going to be a sales call. Like, the guy, I was on a call with somebody and the guy started asking me about renewing in boardroom and he wanted to wait for 2 weeks. And dude, I just literally went, ah, dog, come on. Oh, and he's like, no, I was like, dude, please. And he just was like, all right, I'll just do it now. That's literally how I handled it. I'm not even kidding. That's all I did. No, I had really good rapport with this person,
Right, right.
but like, that's all I did. I didn't try to handle it like, I didn't really, I didn't even try to,
Yeah,
I just like was like, ah, yeah, really? You're going to do that to me, dude.
really, dude.
Yeah. So that's all I did. And it works. I've done that a lot. Um, And I call it my Grant Cardone theory. It's like a lot of people like poo-poo on Grant Cardone or whatever. I mean, I do think like genuinely he's probably a great closer. And I think what he probably does that I picked up from him, that's really good is some people hear some of his rebuttals or whatever, and they're like, dude, that's corny as hell. But I think that like he has like fun with it and he's just kinda like this fun like, he knows like, look, he knows he's closing you, you know he's closing you, but he's having a good time with it, and it's, like, a good time, and you're just kinda like when you can relieve the pressure a little bit and, like, use the rapport to your advantage, you can actually pressure a little harder,
Mhm.
you know? And, but it requires you to be a little bit less rigid and just to be a little bit more free-flowing and competent. It is an interesting thing that really works. I don't know why it took me so long to learn it.
Yeah, dude, I got this from David Dre when I was at SDA, but he literally asks people for their credit card. Like, I don't know, like 10 minutes into the call when they give him everything, they're just super open. It's like, "Oh, you got your credit card on you? Let's just go." I'm not saying I do that on every call, but I've actually closed a couple RCA deals where they just give me their goal, they give me their pay, and they tell me why they're here, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "Dude, you got your credit card on, you ready to go?" And I still do the call, it
Yeah,
still
yeah,
do a
yeah.
thing, but I've closed a couple deals because of just the lightheartedness. So,
Well,
oh,
humor basically diffuses sales resistance. If they're having fun and you're having fun, you can pressure so much harder. And it doesn't even seem like pressure, even though it is. It's like it is pressure, but it's not the type of pressure where like you watched a call where there's like a lot of pressure and even kind of like your cortisol kind of goes up a little bit. Even if it works, you're like, wow, holy crap. But if you could do it like with some little humor, but it requires some rapport. And sometimes it's, you don't, sometimes I'm not saying I had it with everybody. Like
sure.
sometimes it doesn't happen, but there is a lot of times I do. And I'm just like, and it's really great. Like, I'll give you another example. Is if like I'm like setting a follow up, I'll just be like, hey, can I ask you on this question? You gonna ghost me on this follow up? Just be honest with me, man. You gonna ghost me?
Yeah.
You're gonna ghost me on this follow-up? No, no, I'm not gonna go. You swear? Okay, blood oath? All
Yeah.
right, man. Cool. Well, look, and then I'll be like, look, and I don't want you to feel like it's a come to the call with the decision thing. All I want you to do is come with questions, and we'll go over your questions.
Mm.
And if you really want to do this, great. If you don't, we'll figure out a game plan for you to work towards this in the future, man. I'm cool either way. I just want you to show up because I'm blocking the time off for you. Is that fair? Perfect. Okay. So, so
Yeah.
then I'll do that. But like, I'll do stuff like that all the time, and it's interesting how very few people do it. They're just so. It's just because it all comes down to the fact that, and this is one of the most valuable sales lessons I've ever learned, is that salespeople just put their self-worth on the line on every single call. If I close this call, I'm
Put
great.
their what? I missed that. Put their what?
Self-worth on the line. If I
Oh,
close this call, I'm great. If I don't close this call, I'm not great. I really need this sale today, right? And what you got to do is, only focus on just executing the process to the best of your ability. So detaching yourself from the outcome, attaching yourself to the process, getting them sold. What I mean by sold is like just getting them to that place of I really fucking want to do this, Logistics aside, this is exactly what I want, right? We want to focus on detachment, getting them sold, and then gamifying the process, which is like removing yourself from kind of almost the sale and just having this thing where everything is like you're just like you're just trying to do sales at the highest level and let the chips fall where they may, right? It's really the difference. When I say gamifying, it's the difference of like when somebody says something that is like could be perceived as annoying or gives you an objection, let's say. Instead of like getting frustrated or taking it personally or taking it a certain way, you're like, oh, wow. Okay, they gave that response. I'm going to use all my sales abilities to handle that in the best of my ability, right? So you're kind of removing your own emotions out of it in a way. And then the last thing is to have fun and just like enjoy it. Because if you can actually have fun with something that's adequately challenging for you, that is like the formula for flow state. And then also it gives you all those added benefits of like, I mean, if you're actually just really relaxed, you don't need to sale and you're having fun with it and you're just relaxed, they pick up on that energy, you perform better, and you can do that stuff at the end where you can just like josh people and and just get them to buy, right? Like, you
mhm.
know, and sometimes that stuff is way better. Like, I mean, it is kind of funny because like I'll teach all this stuff, but then sometimes, and this is like where it's like an art, not a science. And I could do like my whole stuff that I normally do and still close them probably, but like sometimes I'll just know that I can get away with like I'll be like, dude, you don't need to think about like you need to do this. Sometimes I'll just do that to people.
Mhm.
And they'll just buy. They'll be like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Like,
because it's the day that you say it.
don't give me the whole think about it thing. Dude, you know you need to do it.
Yeah.
Times with it's a little bit more like structured, rigid people, you got to kind of go through the whole thing. But it's just something to play with because when you have really good rapport, it's like that's a bank account you could almost use and just say stuff that normally would be like if you saw it on a scripting, if you saw me script out for you, dude, what are you talking about? Just do it. Like you'd be like, what the you'd be like, what the fuck is this? But then if you get the context of the call and the humor and everything, you'd be like, oh, like I guess it made sense. You laugh, so yeah, but it all comes from that like leveraging that rapport bank account, and you can't get it with everybody. Some people are too rigid, but you can get it with like people who you've had a really great call with, and they're like, dude, I really want to do it, blah 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 blah. It's just this, and you're like, come on, dude, just do it.